Guess what's back? Yes, it's back. Yeah, that's right. The NFL is back today, and we're going to give you my breakdown of Detroit and Kansas City. Don't fall in love with Detroit all that much just because Dan Campbell wants to bite kneecaps. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, he wants to drink beers after game. That is a reason to fall in love with him. But the NFL is back. We got a monster for you. Don't At Me starts right now. Hey, welcome. That's right. The NFL is back. And we, all of us, are incredibly excited because, well, let's be honest. When the last NFL game is over, we go, wow, Super Bowl was great. And then you look at the calendar and you go, this is crap. It doesn't start again until September 7th. We can talk about it all year long. We can talk about OTAs. We can talk about training camp. We can talk about who's going to be cut, the draft, all that kind of stuff. But let's be honest, none of it makes any difference and is any good comparable when you compare it to opening day or actual games. I'm so glad, when we get to this time of year, I honestly don't like Wednesday. I don't like Tuesday. Those are the only days I don't have the foots. I need the foots. Yesterday, I took to betting a doubleheader, a parlay, Cubs and somebody, Brewers. I wanted the Brewers to lose, so I bet on them, and surely they did. I bet big money on the Cubs yesterday, and they delivered. Look, I can't sit here and watch reruns of 2.5 Men all day. I can't watch Seinfeld all day. There's nothing on TV to watch, although I am watching a good one called Painkillers, and I did finish up last night with Swamp Kings, and it was spectacular. And by the way, Swamp Kings, you that worry about or are mad about Urban Meyer having his ass kicked, you can kiss my dupayage. That was unbelievably good. Second best documentary right there with Last Dance. All right, the NFL tonight, 4.5 is the last line that I have seen. Do yourself a favor. Don't punish yourself. Do one of two things. Move that line to 3 if you would like, and you're going to pay heavy juice. But don't put yourself in a situation where you got to sit there and watch Patrick Mahomes with the ball down 1 with about, 10 minutes to go in the game where he's going down and getting a touchdown. Don't do it to yourself. Don't buy totally into Dan Campbell. Don't buy totally into Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator. Don't totally buy into it. This is opening day. It's Patrick Mahomes. Yes, Jared Goff can ball. He had a great year. Yes, there may be no Travis Kelce. Yes, there is no Chris Jones. Yes, the wide receiver core, including Sky Moore, a kid from Western Michigan that I wanted for the Colts, is, well, to say the very least, to make it as nice as possible, inexperienced. But they got Patrick Mahomes, they got Panchero, they got this offensive line, and they got a lot of pride. This is a tough game. I'm not betting big bucks on it, but I'm going to tell you something right now. One of the most painful things to do in the NFL has always been bet against Peyton Manning, bet against Tom Brady, bet against Aaron Rodgers, bet against Patrick Mahomes. Because when they got the ball late, it's murder. It's absolutely murder. Don't do it to yourself. All right, let's talk about the Lions, though. I like the Lions. I think the Lions are an up-and-comer, but here's the deal. And this is where the way you got to think about it in gambling. It is. Billy Walters is going to tell you this. You get all the information you can. You get information after information after information. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you think to yourself, is that team ready? What is the hype around that team about? The hype around Colorado football was Deion Sanders. What was actual? What was actual was Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, and 3 other wide receivers along with Hunter that went for over 100 yards. That's what was actual. You got to figure out the hype. And one of the bottom lines things for me is simply this. I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. Not at home, not in a big game. Could he throw an interception late? Yeah, we've seen him do that. But when you're looking and you're watching and you're sitting, you can't bet the under and you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. You're better off not betting. You literally are better off not betting. Or if you want a little taste, just bet Mahomes on the money line. 4.5 is a weird number, man. 4.5 is a crazy number. 4.5 seems like too many to me. It just does. It seems like it's just, God, I hate that number. And you got to bet the numbers sometimes. You got to get the value. And I just don't think that this is the way to go about it. I would sit this game out. I'm not gonna, but if I were a smart bettor, and I'm not betting. If Kelsey plays, I think that's overrated either way. I just do. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. If Justin Ross, the wide receiver, and Sky Moore, as I talked about, can play to the absolute level of what a Super Bowl team has at wide receiver, then I'm all business with it. I'm all in on it. True story. But I don't know, and you don't know. This game, you don't know. And when you don't know, you don't play it. But, of course, I'm going to play it, and I am going to take Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to do it because that's what I do. I tell you who's dangerous to bet against, Brian Kelly. Why does everybody hate Brian Kelly? Everybody hates Brian Kelly. Everybody doesn't like Brian Kelly. Well, I'm going to answer my own question. People don't like Brian Kelly because he seems disingenuous. People don't like Brian Kelly because he does things like this. Let's show it, fellas.
And that's not a disclaimer of any kind. We're going to go beat the heck out of Florida State. But
that was not a fake. That was not the thing that I fell for yesterday, which was Dabo Swinney saying that his offense is comparable to Brian LaFrance at Iowa, and that's bad. That was Brian Kelly's voice. Well, here is the reaction to Brian Kelly. I believe we have the Twitter reaction where Brian Kelly says, I didn't say that. Oh, maybe we don't. If we have him caught red-handed, we probably should have the reaction to Brian Kelly. I guess we don't. Brian Kelly said, I didn't say that. I didn't say it. Now, that wasn't me. What are you talking about? I didn't have that. Brian Kelly said, that's not something that I would ever say. Brian Kelly, it's not in my background or nature to make these kind of comments. It's not. Well, you heard it. You did. There it was. You heard it. And then he walks back and says, it's not my nature. Really? It's not your nature? Seems like your nature. You just said it. That's why people don't like Brian Kelly. That's exactly. I like Brian Kelly because I don't care about any of this. You know what I care about? Winning. I care about winning. That's it. That's why I like Ryan Grigson. You win. You're with the Colts, you win, I like you. You're with the Colts, you lose. As my father used to say, we're with you, win or tie, baby. We're with you, win or tie. All right, TCU got its ass beat. TCU got pummeled. TCU got belly whomped. TCU got crushed. TCU is now calling itself, well, I'll let you hear what TCU is now calling itself. I can't hear it. There you go. Laughing stock because they lost one game. They are. You lose to Deion Sanders, apparently he's going to pile it on you. You beat Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is in a great spot here. I want you to think about this. Deion Sanders has that whole, hey, I'm a black man, nobody wants me to succeed thing going. That's picked up by the media. Deion Sanders is the underdog. So when Deion Sanders beats you, he's going to humiliate you. He's going to, we coming, and all that happy horse bleat. Yeah, they are. But when you beat Deion Sanders, can you imagine if Matt Rule beats Deion Sanders and says, yeah, I don't understand what all the hype was. TCU must not be very good. We just beat the hell out of them. And you know what? People don't want to see a white man succeed. That's what I'd do. I mean, Deion Sanders is in a great spot. So now players have to get up there and say that they're a laughing stock for losing to Deion Sanders. If you beat Deion Sanders, you can't say nothing. If I was a coach, I'd say something. Yeah, Deion, take that. That's what I'd do. But you're not a laughing stock for losing to Deion Sanders. You might be a laughing stock, TCU, because, look, you just might not be very good. Now, as we move into the game, let's be honest, this game coming up, Colorado and Nebraska, the ticket prices are off the chain, yo. They're insane. They're nuts. Let's show them. Ticket prices for this game are the most that there has ever been. I want to say this before. The get-in price of TickPick is $476. You could get a ticket coming in for $266. Now, I got to tell you, $266 to go to a Colorado game before the TCU game, I ain't paying. Truthfully, I thought it was going to be like $10 and a bag of popcorn comes with it. I did. I thought, who's going to go to that game? I'm not paying $266 to go see Colorado, Nebraska. Ever. Under no circumstances. But apparently that's what we're supposed to do. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. I won't do it. You can't make me do it. But that is the ticket price. Speaking of tickets, Miami of Florida beat Miami of Ohio. They beat them 38-3 or 38-, that didn't even matter. But they beat the brakes off of Miami, Ohio, the winningest program in the MAC. Yeah, that's like being, again, the most handsome man at the Dakich family reunion. All right? All right, so now we got a rematch, Miami of Ohio, with Texas A&M. You will receive a complimentary ticket in the same area for the game against Georgia Tech. Tickets to both games will be immediately sent after the purchase. Club Corner, $310. Upper, you're going to pay $125 to see the U. The U needs Luther Campbell back. The U needs to start cheating again. Screw this, the U. Start cheating. I don't want to hear about that guy buying little girls that stick their finger in their mouth or bad point guards. I need some serious cheating. You got to get back to the days where you had yachts and naked women and Luther Campbell and the fellas and you're buying players left and right. Quit doing it honestly, the U, because no one's going to pay to get in the upper level of $125 against, Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino coming to town. What are you, insane? Nobody wants that action. Take off the one, make it $25, give a 2 for 1, and then maybe you'll get somebody to buy a bag of popcorn on top of it or maybe some Skittles. And serve beer, for God's sake. Tequila in that area. Yeah, serve some tequila, get a little schnapps going, make it a football environment down there. I don't know what to tell you. I honestly don't know what to tell you, but Miami's program stinks. Sean Payton did absolutely right. Sean Payton told Russell Wilson, just stop being a politician. Stop kissing babies. Start focusing on the job. Stop focusing so much on Russell Inc. Will you effing stop kissing all the babies? You're not running for office. It's exactly right. Cut your hair, wipe your backside, get serious about your job, and go to work. It's that simple. It's that simple. I've said it forever. Are you serious about your job? You are? Good. Then cut your hair, wipe your ass, shave, and let's go. That's not for the great players. That's for players that are struggling. Walk around with what's his girlfriend's name? I don't even know what the hell she is. She's just another singer that wears nothing, walks around, acts like she's something. Just stop it. Just absolutely stop it. And good for Sean Payton for calling him out on that. You ain't running for Congress. You ain't running for mayor. You ain't running for city council. You're supposed to be a football player. Be a damn football player. Jeez, I say that all the time. Keeping it real, baby. Keeping it real. All right, let's jump back to betting, shall we? Betting is interesting to me. Let me give you some numbers. Approximately 73.5 million Americans. 28% of the adult population are expected to bet. How about that? Look, you can't get 28%. The only thing you can get 28% of the population to agree on is that Joe Biden is horse bleep. The only thing you can get 28% of the American population to agree on is that I'm handsome as hell. Look at that, 28% of the adult population. That's a 57.7 increase from 2002. Well, of course, Sports gambling is all the rage. Turn on your TV. You know what you're going to see, the Daily Wager. You're going to see a lot of gambling shows. If Fox were smart, they would put me and have me a primetime sports basketball, when basketball season is here, gambling show. I'd tell you exactly who's going to win, by how much, and why. It's what you do. But in Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan, we all got sports gambling now, and of course, a lot of places across the country. And when you turn on your TV, you can't swing a dead cat without a gambling commercial. Of course, there's a dipstick social media commercials telling us all to love each other. I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, what are you going to do? Of course gambling is on the rise. Of course people are going to get addicted. That's your choice. It's America. I'm not responsible for any clown that listens to my show and gets addicted. I actually had a dad who was listening to the show with his kid, and his kid went and stole money from him, made a $6,000 bet and lost based on my advice. I felt no guilt whatsoever. Police your damn kid. Anyway, I ain't surprised, and PointsBet and I have a relationship now that starts today, and I am all freaking in. Dude got his ear ripped off. Dude got his ear ripped off for Portland State during the Oregon game. Got his ear ripped off. Let's hear from the man. Let's just hear what happened here.
We're fine. Knock on wood. We had one guy get his ear ripped off. They sewed it back on.
What?
And now they say he has a concussion, and he can't. So he's out. But I think he's fine. He's talking to me today, Coach. He said, "Coach,
he really got his ear like Evander Holyfield."
Not the whole ear, but partial ear detachment.
Football's a rough game. Portland State shouldn't be playing Oregon. Let me tell you something. Life is about stories. Life is about experiences. And my man's got a chance to talk forever about getting his damn ear ripped off. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's not. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, look, Evander Holyfield got his ear ripped off. He and Tyson make fun of it like it's their job. Are you kidding me? Now, that's bad business, and maybe Portland State shouldn't play Oregon if we're going to get our ears ripped off. But hey, you played him, you got big money, and the dude got his ear ripped off. Small price to pay. Small price to pay. Did you know this? Did you know that Harvard is the worst school for free speech? They literally scored a 0 out of 100 on this scale. A 0. 9 professors and researchers there faced calls to be punished or fired based on what they had said or written. And 7 of the 9 were actually disciplined. Here's what you got to understand. The night that Trump won, there was violence at Harvard. There was. Against anybody that supported Trump. Dudes got eggs thrown on them. Dudes got beaten up. That's your liberals for you. That's our most tolerant. Our most tolerant talks about nobody's illegal. Everybody's welcome. Oh my God, Black Lives Matter. And you know what? They're right. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. I'm in. I'm down. Let's go. But if everyone's equal, shouldn't somebody have the right, to vote for Trump and talk about it? If Black Lives Matter, shouldn't the African-American kid that got eggs thrown on him at Harvard after Trump won have the right to vote? Harvard, I like a lot. Harvard, my Harvard journey, as the girls of Harvard softball called it, was awesome. I went there. I loved being on campus. I made friends with a homeless dude who's writing a big old book who's smarter than anybody maybe I've ever met. I loved going and having margaritas on top of Felipe's with Tegan and her friends. I loved going to softball games and sitting out in left field with a spread, having a great time with fantastic people. I loved walking around Harvard. But it is funny to me. You can sense on Harvard that it's a bunch of crap in terms of saying anything that our, quote, most tolerant don't agree with. There's the list. Michigan Tech, Auburn, New Hampshire, free speech, Oregon State, Florida State. There's some surprises on there. Bottom 5, Harvard. Penn, Ivy League checking in. South Carolina, surprised about that. Georgetown, not surprised about that. Fordham, not surprised about that. You know, Indiana University is crap. Indiana's so freaking liberal that I'm guessing if you voted for Trump, you'd probably be kicked out of school. IU should be on that list somewhere. But hey, look, my Harvard journey was spectacular. I liked my Harvard journey. I do. What can I tell you? Hermoso. Remember the young lady that got kissed by the World Cup official? Remember? Hermoso. I thought hermoso, is that beautiful in Spanish? I don't know. Every time I go to the bank, the teller and I are friends, and she asked me to give her a new line in Spanish. I think I offended her. I asked her how old she was. I don't know any Spanish, but I said, ¿Cuántos años tiene hoy? And she asked me, how old do you think I am? I don't know how old she is. I said, 22. It squelched it. But anyway, Hermoso didn't like being kissed. She had no problem being kissed. There was absolutely no problem in her mind about being kissed. But she got kissed. And everybody had to say, oh my God, that's horrible. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh my God, that was sexual assault. All right. Luis Rubiales put the smacker on her. Luis Rubiales is now accused of sexual assault without her consent. Look, I don't know about you, but there's a moment in a relationship where you think the girl wants to kiss you or you think the guy wants to kiss you. Is it sexual assault if you put the smooch in? And the girl's like, no, I don't think about you that way. Is that sexual assault? Look, this is crap. This is total crap. Just stop. The guy was an idiot. The guy did wrong. What the guy did wasn't right. He shouldn't have done it. Blah, all that stuff. We all get that. Of course we get that. But come on. I had all kind of women kiss me when seriously, I had one. Hell, she's like, hey, Dan, take a walk with me. Worked with her. She took my elbow and she's like, you like these? I go, get out. What are you doing? She goes, I don't know. You're single now. Not assault. I have a friend, Freddie Vianney. He's in a wheelchair right now. He had a great line. This isn't me. This isn't me. He put out on Twitter, he's the biggest defense attorney in the country, one of them. He's also the best defense attorney in the state of Indiana. And he said, I have worked for 35 years. No woman has ever come on to me. No woman has ever tried to do anything. Hashtag, why not me too? And no assault here. The dude got too excited. Apologize and move along. My God. I know we're not supposed to say that. I understand I'm supposed to be all, oh my God. Yeah, look, it was stupid. It was idiotic, but there ain't no mistake. Example, Bill Gates, smart dude. Tell you why. $100,000. He bought 1.7 million shares of Bud Light. Smart. Bud Light will come back. We'll forget about this. Now, I think Bill Gates is among the worst people in this nation. I think that Bill Gates has a lot of skeletons that he, the Epstein, and all don't want out. But I don't think Bill Gates is stupid when it comes to finances. I think Bill Gates is smart. I think Bill Gates made a good move here. I'm not mad at Bill Gates for doing this. I'm not mad at anybody that looks, sees, in fact, I got to tell you, I thought about doing it. In fact, Bud Light stock is starting to climb. I may do this afternoon. I may take all the crap that I'm in and move it over to Bud Light. Telling you right now, these things, I know it's going to die forever. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But I will tell you this, it ain't a bad move. Look, well, I can't believe you would support. Why not? It's about money. I mean, what the hell? LeBron James is over in Saudi Arabia. What are we mad about? Because somebody would go with Bud Light? Stop it. Just stop it. The world is a free market. The world is an open place. The days of everybody having to watch out for Julie DiCarlo and Sarah Spain coming at them are dead over. Screw them all. If you think Bud Light's going to make you money, short it if you think it's going to go short. But I think Bud Light will make you money, and I think that's a brilliant move. I do. I think that's a brilliant move by Bill Gates. I do. I honestly do. Hey, America's little pain in the ass, Kim Mulkey. She's getting ready to ink a $32 million 10-year contract with LSU. That is awesome. Now, you talk about unlikable. That's Kim Mulkey. But she getting ready to get a 10-year, $32 million deal. Now, that, ladies and gentlemen, is progress. That, ladies and gentlemen, is where women's sports needs to be. Hey, can we switch that over to women's softball? I've been on my knees begging Lee Ross, America's greatest softball coach. I'll give Patty Sasso. I'll give that lady in Oklahoma. That's a tough. She's doing great things. I will give it to her. But I've been on Lee's ass. Look, go be the coach. Hire a great staff. I'll be your ops guy. But I got to live in a 5-star hotel. You just send the girls over and I'll crush their souls when they screw up. Last thing, before we go to break, and we're going to have Mike Macy on. He was Serena and Venus's coach. Got to tell you, I can't wait to talk tennis. This Carlos Alcaraz, holy banana smokes, is this dude something? Quickest guy ever in tennis, according to John McEnroe. I want you to think that. Quickest guy ever in tennis. I'm sorry, it's Rick Macy, not Mike Macy. Quickest guy ever. This dude is fantastic. Now, you loved Rick Macy in King Richard because, well, frankly, he was Serena and Venus's coach. We'll get into all that, and then I cannot wait for this. I cannot wait for Billy Walters. I have been a fan of the old school gamblers. I'm sorry, Doyle Brunson, all these guys, I love them. I love their stories. I love what they're about. Billy Walters is the guy that told the world that Phil Mickelson bet like $1 billion. Phil Mickelson ratted him out, sent Billy Walters to jail. How good is the staff here? They got Billy Walters on the show. Hey, Charlie's show is a hit. So is Charlie's T-shirt. Toxic masculinity is hot. That's right. Great T-shirt, by the way, because she's right. I remember some big slob named Sarah Spain at ESPN got mad at me because I said Andrew Luck quit. So this slob, toxic masculinity. I was just getting ready to tweet toxic dumbass right back at her when Mike Tirico called me and said, don't. Put the phone down. Put the phone down. Hot, beautiful, smart, intelligent, funny women like Charlie like toxic masculinity. Big old slobs that sell their boobs on YouTube or wherever the hell it was and write songs saying, I want to F Steve Bartman. Those slobs don't like toxic masculinity. There it is. Charlie's awesome. She joins at 10:30. We'll be right back.
Welcome into OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader. I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life. ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the number 1 overall pick.
Is it fair for people to be upset with Barton?
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous a scenario, are gonna live. What have you seen firsthand of how this has affected you in the plant and your fellow employees? Under Joe Biden, the Taliban has retaken Afghanistan. Putin has invaded Ukraine. So if there was ever a time for freaking aliens to inhabit and conquer Earth, now would be that time.
Man, the level of stupid that sometimes gets on our YouTube chat just gives me a headache. You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it. The American people are being cheated. We, ladies and gentlemen, are being cheated.
There's no doubt in my mind he could have caught the ball in his back pocket if he'd been running. Blowing a lead and losing a game is 100 times more lasting and painful in some clubhouses than losing the game 15-0.
And we were able to see you guys on the ground with your son supporting. That was huge.
They were saying, oh, it's only 1 or 2. That's rubbish, and we all know that's rubbish. Once those trans-identifying males were able to succeed, it just encouraged others.
Hey, you saw him, you knew him, you loved him in King Richard, or at least somebody portraying him as Serena and Venus's coach. All he did was help, I think, in my opinion, turn Serena Williams into the world's greatest female athlete ever, and Venus into a superstar as well. Rick Macy joins us. Rick, thanks for joining us. But before I get into Serena, King Richard, and all of it, man, oh man, last night, I've watched this kid. Carlos Alcaraz is unfreaking believable, this guy, Rick.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. But before we get into Alcaraz, let me back the truck up to 1984 East Regionals. I'm from Ohio. You're from Indiana. I actually followed the Hoosiers a lot. The scouting report on Double D. Feisty, gritty, mentally strong and quick. Here we are 39 years later on OutKick. All right, so I'm glad to be with you. I just jumped off the court, but let's talk about Carlos Alcaraz. You know, he's a combination, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, and Agassi. Dan, he's all wrapped in one. But the wild card, he's a Broadway performer. He loves pressure. He'll lose a 20-ball rally, and he'll smile at you. The guy's brutal. I saw this 3 years ago. Then the makeup speed. The makeup speed is like the world has never seen. Once he hits that other gear, okay, he can get there to deliver the goods, and he can counterpunch quality with quality. Okay, he's not going anywhere. Barring injury, we're seeing something the world has never seen in the game of tennis.
Yeah, all right, let me go back. You know, we all see great athletes, and we know they're going to be great. And then the one disclaimer becomes this, at least in basketball, and I appreciate you, your bio here on me, I do. The one thing we all talk about, and I say this in basketball all the time, yes, this kid, the next kid coming out is great. Does he have the work ethic of LeBron? Is he Kobe work ethic? Does he do what Jordan is going to do? Can he handle the big moment? God dang, this guy seems like the whole package. I'm watching him flipping his racket, waiting last night for Zverev or whatever the hell you say his name, and he's loving. He's a showman. This is awesome.
Yeah, but the difference is it's from the heart. That was baked in, extra crispy. He has a lot of humility, a lot of gratitude. His two best friends might be his mom and dad, the way he's wired. You know, then you throw in the genetic base. Okay, technically, he's sound. There's no holes. That's why I went on the record 3 years ago. Okay, what's coming down the pike? And listen, he loves pressure. Listen, he's going to lose. As you know, no one's going undefeated. But at the end of the day, okay, this is something special and must-see TV.
What did you see specifically? What mentally did you see? I mean, I get that, but in terms of his ground strokes, everything about it, what did you see?
Okay, well, there was no fear. You know, courage is his best friend. He's not afraid to pull the trigger. And these matches are so close. Men's tennis is so physical. I mean, yesterday, some of the guys changed shoes 5 times. It was brutal out there. Listen, he handled pressure. I could see that in the juniors, just wired different. He thinks he's putting on a show for everybody. And listen, when you're all about the competition, as you know, Dan, when you're all about the competition, anybody, anytime, anywhere, you're going to handle pressure better. And then you throw in the genetics and the technical part. Okay, I just saw something very, very different. He's the youngest ever at age 19 to be number 1 in the world. And he's saying, bring it on.
McEnroe says he's the quickest player ever in tennis. You agree?
What'd you say again?
McEnroe said last night he's the quickest player to ever play tennis. Do you agree with that?
He's in the neighborhood. You know, there's a lot of people quick, okay, as you've seen, but he's quick. But once he hits that other gear, his turbo speed, his makeup speed is like no other. But when he gets there, his hands are like cotton. He's the Spanish magician. You know, some guys go fast, as you know in basketball, and they just run right through you. This guy can stop and just change mentally. And he has the ideal performance state, high intensity, okay, a lot of calmness. I would agree with John, but once he gets going, okay, it's like no other.
Hey, Rick, obviously King Richard, the story Richard Williams, Serena and Venus, you were a massive part of that. I got to ask you, I am a huge fan of Serena Williams, and I get the men's game is different than the women's game. I do. Coming up, you know, Venus, people forget, Venus was winning everything. Serena was the little sister. I'm guessing you knew all along how this was going to end up between the two.
Well, I had an idea, but if I can back that truck up, when I went to Compton, I got to tell this story, Dan. I went to Compton, you know, that night, just like yesterday, they came into the hotel room, Venus on one leg, Serena on the other. Richard, this guy was like no other also. He pulls out a piece of paper. I thought I was in a deposition. The way this guy grilled me, okay? He wanted a father figure, a role model, someone that's been there, done that. Because I had Capriati for 3 years, and she was already top 10 in the world at 14. So when we went on the courts the next day, all right, I didn't see it at first. And this is a great lesson for any coach, parent, or player. And you've seen it, Dan. You don't judge a book by the cover. I didn't think they were that good. There was arms and legs and hair going everywhere. But when we started playing competitive points, the whole landscape changed. There was a rage. There was a rage inside these two little girls that I have never seen in my life, and I haven't seen it since then. And I've had a lot of number ones. It was different. It was different, and I just knew they'd be bulletproof. But to answer your question, VW, okay, she had gifts from above that Serena didn't. But Serena, okay, had all the time in the world. And she knew where you were going to hit it before you did. But no one could see that at 9 years old. But I did. And as she matured, she was like a pit bull. Once she got a hold of you, she wasn't going to let go. But I knew where it was going. But listen, they're two peas in a pod. They were skipping and holding hands at age 9 and 10. And here they are at age 42 and 43. And they're still skipping and holding hands. Two sisters, Dan, like no other.
Do you know the name Kathy Stroya, the trainer, longtime women's tour trainer?
I've heard the name, but I don't know her personally.
Kathy Stroya, I grew up with. She was forever, and she was great friends with Serena and Venus because of her job. She said, she told me one time, Serena Williams might be the nicest human being on the planet until you compete.
No, listen. I tell everybody as a kid, she was the nicest, meanest little kid I ever taught. Dan, we used to play tag in the sand. No, we used to play tag in the sand. And the first time, the Compton Comet played with a closed fist. And I said, whoa, Serena, you got to play with your hand open. I mean, listen, when the bell rung, she was wired different. And I love that, especially in a female athlete. But listen, this is all Orsine and Richard Williams. Every single day, they brought their books to the tennis court. When it rained, up in Rick's office. And every single night, good, bad, happy, or sad, Rick, thank you very much. Remember, those are life lessons. That's how I put up with Richard Williams. As you saw in the movie, I respected him so much as a father. You know what I mean? It was all about the girls because they were like my own daughters. Richard was my best friend. And the way they're wired, that goes back to the parents. Okay, but I agree with that. Serena's so nice. She's unbelievable.
Movie depict everything pretty accurately?
Yeah, they were definitely in the neighborhood. I knew Will Smith was going to get an Oscar. That was Richard. That was better than Richard. The only difference in the movie, I had a little piece of AstroTurf as a mustache, and Bernthal had this big bushy thing. You know, I just had a little strip. It took me 20 years to grow. But listen, the walk, the talk, the nuances, the subtleties, It was so spot on. And what I loved about the movie, it didn't go from Compton to center court. I took a big chance. I believe I put in, millions of dollars. They could have got hurt. I could have been wrong, like most coaches, they evaluate talent, but I wasn't. I was on a mission, but the movie was so spot on. It was amazing, and I loved it.
Hey, last thing before I let you go. Are we seeing a bit of a resurgence in men's tennis with the Americans?
Absolutely. I know all these guys. I used to work with them at the USTA when I'd go over on my lunch break when it was here in Boca, when they were 13, 14. Now they're looking at it, why not me? Listen, Federer, Nadal, Murray, they're out the door. Djokovic, he's not going anywhere. So now you get in these tournaments, listen, Dan, you don't have a tough match, maybe a toughest match, till the quarters. And they think, why not me? It's one difference to hope to win. It's another difference to expect to win. But absolutely, you got Sebastian Korda, Taylor Fritz, Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton, 149 missile, the Florida Gator, see you later. I mean, listen, when his serve's on, it's unbelievable. Yeah, the men are going to be in the hunt. But that being said, the Joker's not going anywhere. The rubber band man, he's the GOAT. Okay, Alcaraz, the new sheriff in town, and Medvedev. Okay, people kind of forget about him. He's 3 in the world, the Russian, and he has the best quote of all time. I don't really like to win. I just like to torture you. Now, when a guy thinks like that, you're going to have a rough day at the office. So listen, no one's going to give it to him, but American tennis is definitely back on the men's side. And on the women's side, good friends with Coco Gauff and her father. She's an Olympic sprinter with a racket in her hand, mentally strong. You'll love this, the little brother. He's the best middle school quarterback in the country. Great genes in the family, okay? She's going to have a tough match with Mahova today, okay? But she is only 19. A lot of these players are older. Coco is going to be number 1, and it's around the corner.
Yeah, it feels like Coco Gauff has been there a long time. It's my favorite thing to do. I was doing it last night. Lay in bed late night and watch the freaking U.S. Open. I just absolutely love it. I love breakfast at Wimbledon, and I love late night at the U.S. Open. I hope you'll come back, Rick, maybe at the end of this tournament, and we'll break it down. This is fun. Thank you, sir.
We'll do it again. Glad to be with you.
That's Rick Macy, who, well, you see it. All you got to do is watch King Richard. He was the man behind the man. The man behind the girls was Richard Williams, but the man behind the man was that man right there. And I'm telling you, I love the Williams sisters. I love to watch them compete. I love the fire. People got so mad when Serena told the ball girl, I'll stuff it down your throat or whatever. I love that stuff. But again, I like Bobby Knight for 16 years, so what the hell do I know about anything? But that is a lot of fun, and I thank Rick for coming on. And again, our staff knows me. Our staff knows that I like guys like Rick, guys that bring the energy, guys that bring the juice. And that's my man here. Awesome. Fun stuff. All right. Remember, we got Billy Walters coming up. I want to find out what the hell's going on here between him and Mickelson. Walters went to jail. Mickelson ratted him out, so he rats out Mickelson. What a show we got today. Honest to God. What a freaking show. All right, this is on ESPN. Somehow, some way felt there was a bidding war for Mina Kimes. A bidding war. Let me explain something to you right now. Mina Kimes must be, I don't know. She must be like some kind of unicorn, or because she has I don't even know what her look is, that makes her valuable to ESPN. I've never heard Mina Kimes say anything interesting other than she's always a victim. Oh, and she uses all the cool kids' words. $2 million for Mina Kimes, if all things were equal, with what I did for ESPN and Big Ten basketball, I was worth about 10 if this was worth $2 million. It's the funniest stuff ever. The slob, Sarah Spain, I don't know what she was getting, but she at least did a radio show every night. Every night she would do a radio show. That's worth more than this talking about what? Hi, guys. I saw the other day she was kicking a football. Don't participate because people don't respect you. But, hey, I ain't mad at her. But it does make me wonder. If Mina Kimes was worth $2 million, then I got to be worth about $20 million for what I did for Big Ten basketball, for my contributions. Holy hell. Kirk Herbstreit did something interesting. Kirk Herbstreit did this. Kirk Herbstreit called out Ohio State fans. I talked about this yesterday. In fact, fellas, I may send you my rebuttal to Indiana basketball fans. I'm going to try to send it to you now. Because Kirk Herbstreit called out jackass Ohio State fans that drive him crazy because of expectations. Indiana basketball is the exact opposite. At Indiana basketball, there are no expectations. Our guy's 21-19, Mike Woodson. He walks around like he's half dead. He smokes cigars, great, sleeps in the office and turns on CNN and hates on a lot of, I don't know what he hates on, but he doesn't, whatever. I'm going to get myself in trouble. But the truth of the matter is, the fact of the matter is, at least with, fellas, I'm sending you this video. Let me know when you have it ready to go, because this is kind of my rebuttal video. Because Herbstreit is talking about the expectations of Ohio State fans being too extreme. The expectations of Ryan Day, 46-6. And yes, he lost 2 games in a row to Michigan, which means, okay, you got to beat, you're on John Cooper level now. Win all the, fine. But the fans want him fired. The fans are nuts. All right, who you going to bring in? Urban? Urban ain't going there again. Been there, done that. Indiana, same level program, used to be. Indiana has had zero Elite Eight teams since 2002, 22 years. But every recruit that comes to Indiana, everyone is a 5-star, is a legend. Greatest. Guy said to me yesterday, what do you think of Indiana's recruiting weekend? I go, let me ask. I don't know. I have no idea. I said, let me ask. Bunch of entitled kids from some prep school out east. He goes, well, you got it right, except it's a prep school, I guess, in Florida. I mean, I know what Indiana's recruiting. And every little blogger boy will say these guys are 5-star. Program changers. We got the best talent. Zero Elite Eights. 1, I think, maybe 2 Sweet 16s in that time. Herbstreit's mad because the expectations are too high. Hey, Dylan and Nick, let me know if that video's ready. I'm mad because the expectations are too low. I'm mad because my program, blogger boy, the only thing saving Mike Woodson is the NIL. And if you're stupid enough to give money to Indiana basketball to pay these clowns, then you should never have a winner and just be stupid. Let's hear from Herbstreit.
And what they do is they make players, high school players, not want to play for that program because of how they're just such. They drive me crazy with everything that they do. Kyle McCord's trying to learn how to play the position. Kyle McCord's not going to be where CJ's from.
Can you play that again? Can you play that again? This is what
what they do is they make players, high school players, not want to play for that program because of how they're just such. They drive me crazy with everything that they do. Kyle McCord's trying to learn how to play the position. Kyle McCord's not going to be where CJ's from.
Comparing that right there, where Herbie's like, these people are nuts. They have I would go there. I don't agree with what Herbstreit's saying, where kids don't want to go there. I would go there because of that. I went to Indiana as opposed to Butler or Purdue because it meant more. But I get what Herbie's saying. See, at Indiana, we're the exact opposite. At Indiana, we go, oh, we beat Purdue twice. You should beat Purdue. Woody's really getting the family back. Yeah? I don't give a rat's ass about a family back. I give a rat's ass about winning. And that's what Ohio State fans care about. Winning. Indiana fans are, oh my God, did you see us? We got the greatest recruits coming in. And that's exactly how most Indiana fans talk that are male. Oh my God, we got these blogger boys. Oh my, come and see us at the rooftop of some bar and we're going to make $50. Don't pay these clowns until they win something. What are you, insane? I got a headache. See, you gotta have high expectations, don't you? Isn't that what life is about? If you lower expectations, guess what's gonna happen? People are gonna meet them. If you raise expectations, guess what's gonna happen? People are gonna meet them. Let me give you the difference between Ohio State, which every year in football is in the national championship hunt, and Indiana, which hasn't had an Elite Eight team since 2002. Do you want me to tell you who it's less than? Florida Atlantic. But we got media, we got puff pieces, we got all this. Let me tell you the difference. Ryan Day is on the hot seat. Ryan Day has to win or else he is going to get fired. I'm telling you, if Ryan Day loses again to Michigan, he may get fired. Indiana basketball, Mike Woodson, who's not a legend, he lost to Purdue for crying out loud. They won a Big Ten title when he was hurt. I know he came back for the last game. He's A.J. Guyton, scored a lot of points. Indiana is 21-19. In a league, the Big Ten, that hasn't had anybody go to the Final Four, hasn't anybody do squat. And they gave him an extra $1 million a year. Here's my thoughts as they relate to Herbstreit, although I guess I just said my thoughts as they relate to Herbstreit. Dan Dakich here. I'm inspired by Kirk Herbstreit and his rant about his Ohio State team. See, former players have a little different sense. And as a former player of Indiana that was there 17 years, I don't give a rat's ass what you think about this video. But I was listening to Kirk Herbstreit, and he was talking about the insane expectations of Ohio State football. And I thought to myself, man, that's the exact opposite of Indiana basketball. Our coach, Mike Woodson, was given a laid-down hand. He was given an All-American, Trace Jackson Davis. He's gone 21-19 in the Big Ten. What do? We give him $1 million a year. That's right, an extra $1 million a year. It's the exact opposite of Herbstreit. IU basketball fans, there is no standard. There is no expectations. Blogger boys run these articles. Players in the middle of the NCAA tournament decide, I'm going to wear a headband because it's cool. There's no standard at Indiana, and it's really sad, particularly for a guy that was there 17 years. Compare that with Herbstreit. Let's play Herbstreit again.
And what they do is they make players, high school players, not want to play for that program because of how they're just such they drive me crazy with everything that they do. Kyle McCord's trying to learn how to play the position. Kyle McCord's not going to be where CJ's from.
Yeah. Now, he's right. But I wish we had that at Indiana basketball. I do. I wish we had that. We don't. Hey, Woody, here's another $1 million. Oh, really? Well, and our idiot, Woodson, talks about himself in the third person. 21-19, gifted an All-American. I got a headache. Caleb Williams' dad says that his son could return to school if they don't like the situation of the team with the first overall pick. And before you lose your mind on Caleb Williams' dad, remember the patron saint of all of football, Archie Manning. Archie Manning's daddy, or he's the daddy of Eli. Eli didn't get drafted by the New York Giants, ladies and gentlemen. Eli got drafted by the San Diego Chargers. Archie was unhappy because Archie's always unhappy. The Mannings come off as, oh, golly gee, oh, shucks. They're ruthless. So what did old Arch do? The greatest football player in the history of the South that never won a damn game. What did old Arch do? He got his son traded. John Elway, his dad was a coach too. Old Jack. Jack Elway. John did not get drafted by the Denver Broncos. John got drafted by the Baltimore Colts. John said, I ain't going. Went and played baseball. Next thing you know, hello, Denver. Don't get on Caleb Williams' dad for doing what is smart for his kid. You really want to go to the Arizona Cardinals? You really want to go to the Chicago Bears as a quarterback? You really want to go to the Indianapolis Colts? Are you insane? Those places kill you. Those places kill you. I'm telling you right now. There is never a good time to jump into a bad situation if you don't have to. And Caleb Williams, and you can't swing a dead cat without seeing Caleb Williams and his picture all over the place, his promotions, his commercials. Shoot, he's making some large coin, baby. He's making big scratch. You kidding me? Why would you? Hey, the Colts want to draft you. No chance. The Bears want to draft you. Bears haven't had a quarterback since Sid Luckman. Oh, hell no. So before you get mad at Caleb Williams' dad, understand that old Jack Elway, he got John out of Baltimore, and golly gee, don't y'all love us Mannings? We're so damn funny. Peyton said the other day, we cracked up, I tell you what, but Cooper was the best athlete. I'll tell you right now. Cooper, oh, that boy could really play. He had that disease, but Cooper wasn't squat. He didn't have a position. Wasn't going to go be the next Riley Cooper. Wasn't going to be the next Cooper Cup. See what I did with Coopers? Anyway, but I'll tell you what, man, Cooper was the best. And we said and you didn't laugh. Hey, we said and you all didn't laugh. Get them out of here, fire them, put them in jail. I'm suffering from Manning fatigue. He's a nice dude. He did something nice for a friend of mine with a kid in the hospital. And I've got a guy that I played against in high school is great friends with him and says he's an awesome guy. So I'm all in on that. But I got Manning fatigue. God dang, Peyton said, we got to laugh. He's so damn funny. You ever see what he did? All right, Billy Walters. Billy Walters has had one of the most interesting lives ever. If you don't know who Billy Walters is, I can't help you, man. The dude's one of the all-time great gamblers. And I, ladies and gentlemen, am a fan of gamblers. Always have been, always will be. In fact, true story, I bet Aaron Spielberg knows to do this. So back in the day, guys would put Vaseline on their golf clubs, and I'm not sure why. I can't remember why. But Doyle Brunson and those guys used to play huge money matches. And they played it no matter where you hit it. There's no out of bounds. You got to keep playing. So if you find the ball, you got to hit it. But they would put Vaseline on their golf club faces. And I cannot remember why. But it was good. I don't know. I don't know why. But I love these guys. I love these guys. All right, we'll be right back.
Richmond, north of Richmond, is dominating the charts, even knocking Taylor Swift off the top spot over the weekend, and the liberals are losing whatever part of their minds they have left over it. Liberal outlets are labeling the song and its writer and performer, Oliver Anthony, whose real name is Christopher Anthony Lunsford, as right-wing and divisive, not because he is, but because they can't stand the fact that an average working-class white man wrote a song that strikes to the core of what they are all about: greed, elitism, and arrogance. Let's take a look at these so-called right-wing lyrics, shall we? That's right-wing? Really? Because hasn't the Democratic Party been claiming to be the party of the working man since its inception? It's right-wing to talk about working your ass off for little pay. It's right-wing to talk about the collapsing value of the dollar and how the man, aka the government, wants full control. That's right-wing these days, huh? Or maybe it's this part that's got him all riled up. The part where he sings about miners on an island. Maybe that hits a little too close to home for Democrats and their enablers in the media. Telling, isn't it? And P.S., Is it right for hardworking folks to bust their asses so some who don't feel they need to do jack can live off the system and eat junk food all day? Welfare is for those who need a helping hand, not a little Debbie on the couch watching The View. Sorry. Oh, and if the part about homelessness, welfare abuse, and suicide is just for us right-wingers to care about, well, that also says a whole lot about the left wing, doesn't it? No, these elitists who are turning their noses up at this song don't like this song because, quite frankly, they don't like or care about the people this song is about or the people from all walks of life this song resonates with.
Billy Walters joins us. Billy Walters has been in the news lately, a lot of it about Phil Mickelson, but you got to understand something. I'm a fan of the great gamblers of all time. I'm a fan of Amarillo Slim. I remember a Sports Illustrated article a long time ago. Doyle Brunson, Amarillo Slim, and we all went out and we put Vaseline on our golf club face because that's what they did, Billy, back in the day. I don't know that it helped us. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But that's how big a fan I am of all you guys. You guys are like idols to me.
Well, thank you, Dan. That's quite a flattering comment.
Dan, you started at age 9. I want to get into certain things. Sports betting is all the rage. 28% of the male population is going to bet on NFL. But people do it wrong. You do it, and I've adopted your philosophy here. I'm doing it as a business. I'm not doing it because I watched a game. You have certain rules. When did you figure this out? You started gambling, sports gambling at nine years old. I was running with a guy in my neighborhood to go collect at 10 years old. True story. His whole family got arrested. Ours didn't. But when did you figure do this like a business, not like a fan?
Well, I learned it, Dan, after losing for a number of years and getting a lot of nuts on my head. I learned it the hard way. I learned by losing, and finally, after losing enough, I finally realized that I needed to change what I was doing, or things were going to remain the same. And that's when I made a conscientious decision to start looking at it as a business and approaching it, much differently than I had in the past.
Billy, when you have a book out, and I just ordered it yesterday. Let's go through some questions that everybody that I've asked, and when I said I had you on, they want to know. You started gambling. How did you come upon gambling?
Well, Dan, I was born and raised in a small town of central Kentucky, and my family, my uncles, I was kind of raised up around gambling, so to speak. But I was raised actually by my father died when I was a year and a half old. My mother left. I was raised by a grandmother. And my grandmother was a very, very religious lady. First places I ever went outside my home were a Baptist church. But when I was 4 years old, my grandmother had a couple jobs, and there was no daycare. So my uncle owned a local pool room. She dropped me off there when I was 4 years old, and he put up some Coca-Cola wooden cases around the back pool table and gave me a pool stick and left me. And I started shooting pool when I was 4. So when I was 6 years old, I was racking balls in my uncle's pool room, playing petty 9-ball. And so, but at the same time, I'm going to Baptist church 5 times a week. I'm going, 3 times on Sunday and Wednesday night, and the Christian Youth Organization on Saturday night. So I was kind of raised up around gambling my entire life. I had a couple cousins that were professional gamblers, and I had an uncle, and gambling in Kentucky and, kind of down south has always been a little bit of a way of life. I mean, we had horse racing here in Kentucky, as you know, for many, many years. And so that's just kind of been kind of the culture I was raised up in, so to speak.
It's funny. My father was a pool hustler, and and he would bring parlay cards home. And I studied sports when I was 5, same kind of thing. And he would hit me with a parlay. I'm sure you remember parlay cards back in the day, right? He would hit me with them. But it seems to always start with pool. I swear to God, Billy, it seems like it always, whenever I talk to guys that, I used to hustle 9-ball. I used to play 8-ball against older guys. I swear to God, it always starts with pool.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Dan, I probably learned as much in a pool room as I learned anywhere. And I look back, on my, when I was a kid, and the things I learned in a pool room, I've applied most of those things my entire life. Negotiation, learning to play under pressure, learning to be disappointed by a friend who'll dump you. Learning. There's just so many things you learn in a pool room, and when I was a kid, I went through those things, and clearly you play your first game for money, and then you get nervous and you miss the 9-ball, and you either learn not to miss the 9-ball, and you learn to play under pressure. You don't. Some do, some don't. I did, luckily, and then you learn the art of negotiation. You make a game with a guy, and you take away the worst of it, and you lose your money, and as I became older and became an adult, I've used those things my entire life in every business I've ever been involved in.
Did you ever get in a spot where you got your ass beat, or you had to beat someone's ass, or you had to fight your way out, and it was serious? It wasn't just an argument in a pool room?
Yeah, and I tell that story in the book, Dan. And unfortunately for me, I had a bad temper when I was a younger guy, and I always wasn't smart about the spots I picked. I always picked the biggest guy in the room. That's the reason my record was like 4-40. But anyway, when I left, I had respect. No one took my money. But to answer your question, yeah, I had a few of those things, which those are stories that I've shared in the book.
I can't wait to buy the book. Go to Amazon. You can buy the book. All right. What's the biggest bet? What's the biggest golf bet you ever won, or you ever lost, or you ever placed?
Well, I played. You mentioned Doyle Brunson earlier. I played in a deal in Las Vegas that they were 3-man teams. Doyle Brunson was on a team. Dewey Tomko was on a team, and I forget who the third player was. And I played with Phil Hellmuth. He was my partner, and I forget who the third guy was. We played for $1 million a hole, and we whacked it up 3 ways. So my end was 333,000 a hole. So that's probably the highest I played per hole. Yeah, what is the highest I played per hole? That in that one particular deal that we did with Doyle and Dewey.
Is there anything that makes you nervous?
I hadn't really thought about that, Dan. I mean, there's nothing that I can think of today is going to make me nervous, but I'm sure there are things that will make me nervous. Yeah, in the book, I shared a story where I got robbed in front of my home one night. I was coming home. It was the day after the Super Bowl, and a couple of guys jumped out from behind a car. One had a double-barrel shotgun, the other had a .45, and they robbed me and stuck me in the trunk of my car. That made me nervous. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I've had a few things in my life make me nervous.
The reason I ask you that question is because Michael Jordan, who owes me $6,000, by the way, from a golf match in 1984 during the Olympics, and has refused to pay. I digress. He said, "Yeah, I just keep betting until it makes the other guy nervous." And I'm thinking to myself, Doyle Brunson ain't getting nervous, Amarillo Slim ain't getting nervous, Hellmuth ain't getting nervous, Walters ain't getting nervous. Sawed-off shotgun, maybe that's a different level. But when you do what you're doing, that's why nothing's going to get you nervous. You're not going to choke on a putt. You may miss one, but you ain't choking on it.
Oh, nothing gambling is going to get me nervous, Dan. Those days are over. Betting football is not going to get me nervous. And, we got football season starting tonight, and I'm really looking forward to that. And again, one of the reason I put it in the book, I read today where there's 73 million people that are going to be betting on the NFL this year. And that was one of the primary reasons I also wrote the book, because, Dan, it wasn't that long ago in Las Vegas, Nevada, the gaming capital of the world. And in 1990, I was arrested and my wife was arrested. And I saw my wife carried out front of our home with handcuffs on and leg irons. And we were arrested for betting on sports, betting on ball games. And then I was indicted 3 times after that for the same thing, betting on ball games. And then we look up here today, and the Supreme Court of the land has changed the law, and you got sports betting that's legal in the majority of the United States, which is a dream of mine that's come true. And that was another one of the reasons I wrote the book, Dan, is because I wanted to share my experiences about being a bettor. And I primarily wrote this for the average bettor, the person who's not a professional bettor. I mean, I have things in there for all levels of bettors, but people who are betting sports, essentially, I put some basic things in there that will give them a chance, whereas now, basically, they got no chance. And so I see, we got Kansas City and Detroit starting tonight. We got, as they say down home, we got Kentucky meeting leather, and I'm looking forward to that.
Who we betting on? Give me a tip.
Well, tonight it's a little too close for me. I made Kansas City a little bit higher than where they've got it, but I'm gonna pass this game, and because I really can't see any value there. I can see a hell of a game, I can tell you that, and but I can't see enough of a differential in order for me to make a bet. And that's another thing that I have in the book. I've put all the perimeters in there and things you need to consider, in my opinion, before you bet. First of all, if you're going to bet, Dan, you need to figure out how much money that you can really afford to lose, because you're probably going to lose it. And look at this as a recreation. It's something fun to do. It's something I want to do. But I'm not going to get myself in trouble by betting more money than I can afford to lose. And then in the book, I've included a basic betting strategy, a money management system, and I've also explained to people how to go about, coming up with their own opinion about how to make a bet and when to bet, when not to bet, and don't let your emotions take over. If you lose, 2, 3, 4 games on a Sunday, Sunday night all at once, you're going to double up and catch up. You don't want to do that. That's obviously not anything that's going to benefit you also. So, but tonight I got nobody, but this weekend I will have somebody, and I'm looking forward to it, and can't wait for this Sunday.
I feel smarter because I said earlier here, I'm not playing this game because the research that I've done tell me it's too close. So I can die a happy man that unsolicited Billy Walters said what I had said earlier. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, what happened with Mickelson? Now, Mickelson rats you out. And what happened here? How did the relationship start, Billy? What transpired here?
Really, Dan, Mickelson's only 2 chapters of 28 of my book, and he's only in the book because there's the only way I can tell the book. The only way I can tell a book and tell my story, he has to be in the book. He really didn't rat me out, Dan. That's, when you read the book, you'll see what happened. It was, in my opinion, much, much worse than ratting somebody out, which is kind of hard to say when somebody rats you out or they inform on you. I can't think of anything any worse than that, but what he did, in my opinion, was much worse than that. All I wanted him to do was come forward and tell the truth about what took place, nothing more, nothing less. And I believe if he'd done that, I don't think I would have ever gone to prison, Dan. But it's like I say, it's a story that's well told. I mean, frankly, I'm kind of tired of talking about Mickelson. He's a minor part of my book.
Yeah.
The book, was number 2 in the New York Times bestseller list last week, and it wasn't because of Phil Mickelson. It's because of the other stuff that's in the book. And I wrote the book, Dan, for a number of reasons. I want to help people. I want to help people who've suffered with and faced addiction and issues in their life. I wrote the master class for people who are betting sports. I wouldn't have put this information in this book, Dan, 10 years ago for $20 million. I'm 77 years old. This is my legacy for the sports world. Everything that I know about sports handicapping, and I mean everything I know, is in this book. There's nothing that I left out. And it also gives me a chance to set the record straight about truly what did happen between Phil Mickelson and myself, what happened in the Southern District in New York when I was convicted and went to prison. And it also shares my experience in prison, what took place in Pensacola when I was there. So that's what the book is really all about. Phil's a very minor part of it. He's a sad part of it, in my opinion, but he's a very minor part of it.
Well, he's a sad part, but you did talk about him. It did get very public as you were selling the book about him betting up to $1 billion. I think a lot of people were taken aback by that. So, I mean, I get it, but the dude is a big part of, at least externally, people saying, this is interesting. I want to learn more about it. Don't you agree?
I don't disagree with that, and it's all in there. Every bit of it's in there. He and I had a 5-year buddy relationship, Dan, and we had an 8-year friendship. And the buddy relationship was real simple. We were partners, 50-50. He put up half the money, I put up half the money. He had some places to bet that I didn't have. He could bet much larger amounts of money than I could bet, and that's the reason I went into partnerships with him. I've done that with literally thousands of other people also. And we had a successful partnership, and everything was going along great. And this issue came up with insider trading investigation. He was also involved himself in a money laundering investigation at the same time that had nothing to do with me. And again, it's 2 chapters in the book which explains in the entirety what our relationship was, what our betting relationship was, how much money he bet, how much money he won or lost. And it explains exactly what took place between he and I. And so it's every bit in there. It's all there. And you're right. It's part of the book. And I'm sure people have a big interest because of who he is. But it's, again, 100% of it's all in the book. And as much as I like to be able to explain it here, it's more, there's more to it than that,
Yeah. Hey, we hear now when somebody loses money, I got an addiction. You ever feel like you had a gambling addiction? You're 77. Hell, at 61, I look back and my mother, who's still alive, says, man, when you were a kid, they'd have made, in this day and age, they'd have put your ass on all kind of different medicines, ADD, all this kind of crap, right? You ever look back and say, maybe this was an addiction? Did you ever feel like you had any addictions?
And in the book, Dan, that's what I write about in the book. Early on in my life, when I was gambling, I do feel like I was addicted. Anytime you have something that you can't control or you're making decisions that are adverse to yourself, I think that is an addiction. And I think, yes, I did. When I was younger, I was addicted to gambling, and that's, I get a big part of the story. I'm explaining that. I'm explaining how I overcame it. And I think that's one of the things that people are going to find fairly interesting about this story is I was addicted. I lost a home one time gambling, Dan. And but people are going to see how I dealt with that. I'm sharing that very openly with the public because I want people to learn from it too. And how I was able to overcome that and actually become pretty good at what I do, which, I think is kind of, when I look back on it, people who are addicted, whether it be alcohol or drugs or gambling or anything else, just overcoming addiction is difficult enough. But to be able to overcome one and actually turn it around into becoming what some people have described as the best in the world I think people will find it fairly interesting. And I go into great detail about the addiction, how I dealt with it, how I went through it, and how I turned it around and became pretty good at what I do.
Billy, I got to go back to something. I'm sorry. I should have probed deeper. 2 dudes rob you from behind a car, Super Bowl Sunday, with a shotgun, stuff you in a trunk. I got to learn more. So I'm assuming they figured you had a bunch of money from winning in the Super Bowl. They knew where you lived. You're sitting there in a trunk, Billy. How the hell did you get out? What happened here?
Well, at the time, I had a nightclub in Louisville, and it was the day after the Super Bowl, and I got home about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we'd had a band, and I collected the door money, and it looked like a lot of money, but it wasn't a lot of money. And I pulled up in front of my home and got out, and 2 guys jumped out with ski mask on. One had a double-barrel shotgun, the other had a .45. And they robbed me, stuck me in the trunk of the car, and my next thought was, well, we're going to go out someplace, and that's going to be the end of Billy Boy. And anyway, I heard the car start. I was relieved by that, and then I said, "Oh my God, they're going to come by with a shotgun into the truck." Well, anyway, that didn't happen, and then finally they pulled out, and then all at once I'm inside of a Lincoln, and there's no trunk release on the inside of the car at the time, so I think, oh my God, I'm going to smother to death in here. And so I'm banging around the back of the truck. I got a tire tool and finally, it took me a while, over an hour. I punched a hole in the back seat and I was screaming. And actually, the next door neighbor, I woke my next door neighbor up, who went over and woke my wife up. And she eventually came out and unlocked the car and got me out.
How long were you in the trunk?
I was in there a couple hours. I was in there way too long. I can tell you that, man.
All right. If in my life, that would be the craziest story ever. In your life, that seems like, what is the craziest Billy Walters story ever?
I don't know. There's a lot of them, Dan. That's the reason I wrote the book.
I know.
There's a lot of them, and so I'd probably leave that up to others. But since the book's been out, there's been a lot of comments on maybe the craziest one, but I'll leave that to others to decide.
People, and I always was fascinated because I told you earlier, I used to, at 10 years old, go with a guy and he put dimes in, and he was kind of running our bikes, and he would collect and, that kind of thing. And I always thought that gamblers were really good dudes. Always did. So I'm going to ask you, I followed all you guys. I have. I remember Sports Illustrated. I just remember all of it. I've always followed. If you write it or you're involved in it, I read it. Same thing with Doyle Brothers. Same thing with all these. Okay. But I've always felt like, in a weird way, there is more honor among you guys than there are among, let's just say, dudes at the country club or betting money at the country. I just felt like there's a real honor among you guys, a real respect among you guys doing what you're doing for however many years, even though, as you said, it was considered by society to be jailable or offensive or whatever the hell the right word is. Was there a true honor among everyone?
Yeah, unquestionably, Dan. In 2011, I did a 60 Minutes did a profile on me, and at the very end of it, it probably got me in trouble. And I said the same thing you said. I would much rather trust a gambler in his handshake than I had a guy with a suit and tie on from Wall Street. And in the book, I share that, and I think that's one of the things that probably got the people on Wall Street mad at me. But I said the same thing you said, is I'd rather have a gambler's word than I had to have any contract that I could get from, a guy on Wall Street.
When did you realize that?
Well, I realized it when I started doing business with people on Wall Street. I've been doing business with gamblers my whole life, but when I started doing business with people on Wall Street, I realized that they operated a little differently.
You're sitting at home. It's Saturday. This Saturday, you just mentioned you're going to have some plays. College football, great games this weekend. How much will you bet over the course of one day?
Well, this is the first week of the season. I don't know. I'll probably bet. There'll be some days I'll probably maybe bet as much as, I don't know, 10 million or something.
In a day?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. There's enough college games, enough pro games. That's possible. I could say 10 million. Yeah, I could say probably 10 million. That would be a big day. It's between 5 and 10 million, probably.
And that's a big day. What would be this is a dumb question, but what would be the most on any one game?
It's all in my book, but anyway, as the season progresses, the size of whatever I do will increase with it. Early in the season, you've got more uncertainty, both from my side and the handicapper side. And as the season goes forward, we all learn more, and our numbers get a little bit better. And the biggest bet I've ever made is I shared in the book. I bet $3.5 million on the Super Bowl. That's the biggest individual bet I've ever made. And but I would say the average bet I'm going to make, on a pro football game this year will probably be, $400,000 or $500,000, and I would say the average bet I'm going to make on a college football game is probably going to be, 150 or 200. So.
Hey, Billy, what's Vaseline do for a golf club? What does it do? What does Vaseline on a club face do for a club face?
Yeah, well, with older golf clubs, when you had wooden shafted, wooden face drivers, which we no longer have, and you had the irons, the older irons. What it did, it takes side spin off of off of a golf shot. If you're hitting a slice, the ball won't slice, and it won't hook as much either. It takes side spin off of a golf shot, and it also takes backspin off of a golf shot. Golf shot will travel further; it'll go lower, but it'll also take the side spin off too. But with new golf clubs today, Vaseline really doesn't do you that much good, because what's happened is they've engineered golf clubs today that they almost perform like they do have Vaseline on them. They probably do. The irons, irons today, you buy game improvement irons, it's almost impossible to cut an iron. And the wooden faced, the metal faced drivers, the CG is so big on them now. The sweet spot is enormous. I know you're a really good player, and I know a little bit about your background, and I know you understand what I'm saying. It's not like the old Burt Dargy Persimmon Woods, where the sweet spot was about the size of a dime. Today, you can hit it almost any place on the face of these metal-headed drivers, and it goes pretty straight.
Yeah, I just remember reading about you guys doing that. So, of course, all my clowns in Gary, Indiana, we all brought Vaseline out the next day to South Gleason Golf Course and thought we were something. We did.
But, you
did.
mentioned Doyle Brunson.
Remember.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Excuse me.
No,
you
ahead.
mentioned Doyle Brunson. Again, I share a lot of stories in the book, but Doyle was my partner in Las Vegas. I don't know if you knew it or not, Dan, and for a period of time. And of course, he and I played a lot of golf together, and he was a master using the grease. Doyle was. He knew more about using grease probably than anyone I've ever met. But anyway, and you mentioned Indiana. The first golf lesson I ever took was from Bob Hamilton in Evansville, Indiana. The old golf pro who won the PGA.
What the hell was I going to? The name of the book is Gambler, Secrets from a Life at Risk. And I'm telling you right now, if it's number 2 on the bestseller list, it ought to be damn number 1. I mean, it should. Hey, last thing, before I let you go, is it true that you guys, Brunson, all of you used to play golf matches where there was no out of bounds? I don't give a damn if you hit it in someone's front yard. You got to play it from there. I always read that, and because that's what we did, we started playing that way. I don't give a damn, and people get pissed, right? We didn't really play on courses that had houses on them. I mean, South Gleason and Gary cost $150, but we did hit it across the road, and apartments were there. Is that what you guys did?
No, we didn't play out of bounds in count, Dan. We played, the ball. You had to play it where the ball lied. Yeah, you got no drops, no relief from anything. But if the ball went out of bounds, it was out of bounds. That was a penalty. But but there were no relief from anything. Wherever you hit it at, you had to hit it from wherever it was at. There were no drops.
All right. I just had always heard. So I remember climbing a fence and going across 35th Avenue in Gary and hitting it from an apartment grass, the little grass in front of the third hole at South Gleason. Those of you that grew up in Gary know what I'm talking about, because that's what you guys did. And if you guys did it, us little Bronx tail guys in the neighborhood were going to do the same shit you guys did. It's just what we were going to do. That's your influence, Billy.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, man. It's an honor to have you on. I lost my earpiece, so I'm holding on to it here.
But
hey, I
enjoyed
appreciate
it also.
the.
And
thank you.
I hope you enjoy the book, my friend.
Were you a Joe B. Hall fan? Did you like the Joe B. and Sutton and those guys?
Yeah, I was raised up a Kentucky Wildcat fan. I lived in a small town in central Kentucky, listening to WHAS radio and Kaywood Lefford, and raised up with Adolph Rupp and Harry Lancaster, and that was living where I lived. Our social week was University of Kentucky Wildcats and the Grand Ole Opry, and so yes, I was a big Kentucky Wildcat fan, still am. But I'll bet against them in case I don't like the number. I'll bet against them.
Thanks, Billy. I really appreciate it, man. Great stuff.
Thank you. Enjoyed it, Dan.
That's one of my favorite interviews ever. You guys don't understand. Billy Walters and these guys were like, they were like Bob Love, the forward for the Chicago Bulls, or Billy Williams, the left fielder for the Cubs. They were idols of mine. They were. And it's a thrill to talk to them. Gamblers, the book. Go to Amazon. Go to wherever you get your books. We'll be right back.
GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy thinks that all voters should be able to pass a civics test, so I'm here on Broadway to see how we're doing. Can you name 3 cabinet positions?
Oh, Secretary of State.
Yep.
Secretary of Labor.
Yep.
And we'll go the Secretary of Education.
Correct. What is the capital of Tennessee?
That one, I have no idea. Tallahassee. No, that's Florida. That's Florida. Tennessee.
Yeah, Knoxville. No. Do you know the capital of Tennessee? What the hell? These people don't even like me.
All right, I'll give you a hint. You're standing in it. It's Nashville, guys! How many years do we elect a senator for?
4.
6. What about a congressman?
That's 4.
2.
It's just a trick question, so.
Before he was president, Eisenhower was a general in what war?
World War II. He commanded Operation Overlord and D-Day invasion.
Correct. When was the Constitution written?
1865.
Before that.
1854.
Before that.
1818.
Before that.
1777.
After that.
1789.
Before that.
1784.
After that.
1785.
After that.
1786.
After that.
1777.
After that. You were so close.
1778.
No.
Kanye West. Kanye 2024. Big time. I wrote him in West Virginia. Put him on the ballot.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? So proudly we hail. So.
I told the story of why I love Charlie's shirt. Toxic masculinity is hot because that young lady at ESPN, Sarah Spain, thought it was a bad thing. Our OutKick and the nation's newest star, Charlie Arnold, fresh off an uber successful show, joins me now. First day out. What did you think? Everybody says it went great.
Well, first of all, I want to show off my shirt.
Oh, boy.
Toxic masculinity is hot, guys.
All right. Don't take this the wrong way, but a lot of men just passed out just there. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. A lot of guys.
Okay, but Dan, listen, that does not faze me because I am appreciative that people find me attractive because I am a woman. If people didn't find me attractive, I would be very upset. So I'm not one of those people that I'm not a piece of meat. Like, yeah, I'm clearly not a piece of meat. I'm a human, but I find it to be,
but
complimentary.
The toxic good. I feel better. But that aside, why did you choose? Like when you open your show, right? First impressions are the most. Why did you choose that? Because I love it. I absolutely freaking love it. Why did you choose that as the go-to to start the show?
Because it's something that, of all things, I mean, there's a lot of things that drive me a little bit crazy right now, but it's just something that really gets to me because I really appreciate traditional gender roles. And we just have totally lost sight of what's traditional. We've lost sight of science. We've lost sight of the facts in so many different ways. And I just think at its core, right now, men are being attacked for being masculine. And there's nothing wrong with being masculine. That is not what makes a person toxic. And I said it on my show, just like being feminine isn't a toxic trait. It's when you take things to the I guess, a level
extreme?
where things can, Exactly. So like, just like women, like they could do things that are on a level where it's not acceptable, and so can men, but it's their core qualities aren't what makes them toxic. And I just felt that it's so important because right now there's so many men out there who are being celebrated for the wrong things. We're seeing a lot of the transgenders who are transitioning to women, who are competing in the women's spaces, who are putting on female clothing, things like this, and they're being celebrated for being brave. I mean, just yesterday or the other day, I saw on, I believe it was MSNBC, it was the Artemis Langford, the trans woman, a biological male who entered into a sorority at the University of Wyoming, and they were called on air by the anchor brave, a brave woman. And it's just infuriating to me because it goes both ways. Men shouldn't be celebrated for being feminine. They should be celebrated for being masculine. And then on the other side of it, a man shouldn't be celebrated for being feminine because they're not, or being a woman because they're not a woman. We should celebrate women for being women and men for being men. And we just have gotten so far off track of that it's time for me at least to do my part in getting us back to our roots. And I think that everyone's screaming about toxic masculinity. And I did an MOS about this. You probably saw it in the show. And I went into the park and it struck me, why is everyone talking about toxic masculinity, but I haven't heard the phrase toxic femininity ever from anyone's mouth.
Right.
And it's interesting because when I brought that up to people, they're like, yeah, you're right. I've never heard that. But yeah, absolutely. Women can also be toxic. So it's just, I celebrate strong women. I'm all about women's empowerment, but I'm also about empowering strong men and upholding what they believe in. And I think that if we do away with one, we are doing a lot of harm to the other. So I'm here to uplift both sexes in the traditional ways, and that's where it comes from. End of sermon.
I'm into what you're saying here because one being celebrated doesn't mean that the other can't be. Does that make sense? Like you're talking about, right? Just because I am all about women empowerment. My wife, I have learned, I live with women. It's my thing, but I'm also, hey, screw all this feminine shit. I mean, we're dudes. I mean, look, we're simple, as my wife says. We're protectors. Stop with the criticizing that. It's who we are.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because we have different hormones running through our bodies that cause us to act different ways, that cause us to react different ways, that cause us to look different, that cause us to be able to perform differently. Like there's nothing, I mean, we have, there's some similarities in the fact that we're all human, but hormones control a lot of our bodily functions. And I think that we're just losing sight of the science, which drives me a little bit insane. And also I know a lot of people think Andrew Tate is a complete moron. I'm not it's not like I'm one of his disciples or followers. I know that there are young boys out there who really worship everything that he says. I wouldn't say I'm on that level, but a lot of the things he says are just facts. And nothing that he says is so offensive. I just think it's offensive to the people who want to feminize men and want to masculinize women. I mean, he talks about some of the main core values of a man being, to protect, to honor, to have discipline. They're not bad traits. I don't understand why we're so, shunning of the factors that make men men and, the traditional values that we've seen throughout history that men have displayed. It's just, I love men. I always have loved men. And for me, if a guy is, displays feminine traits, I don't see it as a bad thing. I think everyone has their own levels of sensitivities and that's all good. But for me, I don't think that if a man doesn't want to act feminine or have those feminine qualities, that it makes him toxic. And that's what a lot of people are trying to say now.
Yeah, there's a big difference between a man being sensitive and a man being effeminate. There is. There's a big difference between the two.
Yeah,
you don't have to be a pig.
I wouldn't even say it's sensitive, Dan. It's more of having empathy, right? You can put yourselves in the shoes of someone else and understand, okay, while I'm not a woman, I understand how this could be upsetting to a woman. It doesn't mean you yourself have to be like, oh my gosh, just because this offends you, it offends me. That's not how it goes. It's all about empathy. If you can have empathy, I, for the most part, deem you to be a pretty good person, right? I think that's one of the baseline things of being a decent person. And that's just how I see it.
I agree. Hey, let's play a clip from your show. Dana White was on today. She gets the star. She's a star that gets the star, people. Let's play it.
Maybe I'm naive, but I find it very hard to believe that people will fall for this a second time. You know, fool me once, you know the saying. You know, they didn't even fool me once, so they're definitely not getting me twice. And but if the rest of the country falls for this again, it just gets to the point where it's like, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to take care of my people, my fighters, my circle that I have to take care of. I will figure out and take care of, and then if the rest of the world wants to fall for this and, you know, lose their businesses, you know, and the list goes on and on of all the things that you know, trickle down from this happening. I don't even know how to help you or what to tell you.
Well, I just put that out today. Mask mandates are coming. The election variant is coming. We're seeing it now. And again, I'm with Dana White there, Charlie. If you're going to fall for this, you're an idiot. That's all I'm going to tell you. Fool me once. All of a sudden, the election's 14 months away, and here we go. Exactly. Dana White ain't wrong.
COVID is smart, right? Every 4 years, it just knows what direction to go in. It's a very smart illness. So interesting, isn't it? But Dana White he's so correct. And you have to look at the way certain people handled COVID when it was at its height, when everyone was the most fearful. Dana White was one of the only people in the world who kept his business running regularly scheduled programming, right? I mean, there was maybe a little bit of a lag. I'd have to go back and look, but he made sure to go on with the show. Maybe had to have certain restrictions. Like I was working for WWE at the time and we kept the show going. We never missed a beat. I mean, I even remember New York City shut down. WWE, not even for a second, considered shutting down. We just did closed shows. And that's the direction that UFC went in. And I know that UFC, what they did was they got hotels nearby the Apex for the fighters. They made sure they were taken care of. They didn't want them to have to lose out on their livelihoods. I mean, this is how these guys make money. What do you do if you shut down the business and this is all you know? You know, that's not just putting the company itself out of place. It's putting the fighters out of their places. And Dana White made sure that would never happen. And I can't imagine a world in which, especially this time around, when we all have realized that there's a lot of new facts that have emerged that would make us think twice about maybe some of the mandates or procedures that we were following before. There's no chance he would let that happen. And I just love that he's able to say it out loud, because so many people right now, like, you know, I know you and I will say it out loud, but there's a lot of people who are in the public sphere who play nice. They pretend like, okay, yeah, we'll see how it goes. When meanwhile, what we need people to do right now is just stand up and very loudly say, I will not comply. I'm not going along with this again. It is an independent choice. If you want to live your life in fear, by all means, but otherwise, this is not happening.
Oh, look, I agree. Dana White saying, hey, look, do your thing, but I'm doing my thing.
Exactly.
Was really, I remember one Saturday, I think it was around St. Patrick's Day. You probably did the broadcast, to your point about keeping it closed. It was the only thing on TV. I'm sitting there betting UFC all day. And the one thing that I found out, Charlie, was that UFC's great to bet in one of those because they keep coming. It's not like going to horse races where you got to wait. The next one kept coming. It was awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for you
UFC
guys.
is so much fun. And I don't know if you've ever been to a live show, but I mean, UFC is it's one of the most phenomenal sports to watch, especially live. It's so much fun. And listen, working for the UFC is incredible, especially when you have a boss like Dana who just gets it and is so supportive. And I was so grateful that he agreed to come on for the first show. That was just, you know, exactly how I wanted to kick off everything from day one.
You know what? I went to one. I don't know if it was UFC. I think it was. It was in Indianapolis. And I love the bouts, but the people in the crowd were all a bunch of fat dudes or overweight dudes in affliction shirts trying to muscle up. And I'm like, wait a second. Wait a second. Everybody, and as it kept going and everybody got more beers, they started fighting in the crowd. And I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm too old for this. I don't need to get my ass beat here.
These are the people that I'm sure a lot of feminists especially would refer to as the toxically masculine men. And you know what? I would venture to say in that crowd, based on what you told me, not because they were at a UFC fight, but based on the fact that they were drinking a lot of beers and started getting like out of control and just like, playing the I've got the bigger whatever contest. Those guys are not cool. Like I don't get down with that. That's just lame to me. And like if you have to be that chauvinistic and like prove something, then you might be a little bit toxic. But I'm sure there were some guys in there who were, just there to have a nice time, and I would not lump them into that group.
Good. I'm glad, because I want to go back, because I like the action. I do. And one thing that I have total respect for is the work that's put in, and not only the physical work, but the mental work of these guys, right? I don't want to keep you. I know you've had a busy day. What's going on tomorrow's show?
Well, tomorrow's show is still getting a little bit ironed out. You know how all this stuff goes. You got to book the guests. You got to confirm the guests. You got to double confirm the guests. But we're obviously going to be talking about the first NFL game of the season, which is tonight between the Lions and the Chiefs. And, got a couple people that we're reaching out to who can add some fun perspective on that. Additionally, I am going to be, of course, as a woman who is very into the aesthetics aside from the action, I'm going to be breaking down a little bit of the game fashion, if you will. And then we also have a tennis player coming on the show, Tennis Sandgren, who's very outspoken about all of the COVID protocols that have taken place over the past few years. He missed the Australian Open because of the vaccine mandate. Our good friend, Aaron Rodgers, praising Novak Djokovic. Tennis Sandgren falls along in that same vein, so he'll be a fun one as well.
You're awesome. Congratulations on an awesome start, Charlie. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. See you soon.
She's awesome. You can catch her every morning right here, 8 o'clock. And you know what? Here's what's going to happen. You're going to watch, you're going to fall in love, and she's going to be your go-to, and this thing is just going to keep rolling. I did not know this. By the way, Ben Sheldon, who has taken over tennis with his win the other day, is, listen to this. Hey, Dan, throw in the Indian connection of Ben Shelton being the daughter of Lisa Whitskin Sheldon. Lisa is a fine tennis player in her own right and is the sister of Todd Whitskin. Okay, one of Indy's great. Todd Whitskin's wife was a young lady named Lisa New. Lisa was a cheerleader at Indiana, a pom-pom girl when I was playing there, and everybody had a crush on Lisa New. She married Todd Whitson. Todd Whitson passed away, so Sheldon is not their son. No, Sheldon is Lisa Whitskin, Todd's sister. That is awesome, because Sheldon looks like a really nice kid, and he is a great player. Will you, ladies and gentlemen, go along with a mask mandate? Hell, Biden didn't even go with a mask mandate yesterday. Let's get to some damn awards, shall we? Let's do it right now. The damn icon of the week, and it is, he's got to continue, but it's got to be Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, his strut into the end zone, his words, his look, Neon, Deion, Showtime, Coach, Prime, whatever the hell you want to call him, backed everything up by going into TCU 45-42 and defeating the Horned Frogs in their own building less than a year after the Horned Frogs were in the national championship game. Neon, Deion, Prime Time, Coach Prime, whatever the hell you want to call him, got off to a great start. Now, you got to continue it, but for this week, at least, he is the icon of the week. You can make him the icon of every week. Just go to a press conference. Look, craziest story of the week. I don't know where this comes from. When I first saw and heard about Meghan Markle, I thought the movie Suits, or the show Suits. I saw this girl. She was kind of hot, right? I mean, she was. And I'm like, all right, who is this? Turns out it was Meghan Markle. Now, Meghan Markle is the world's pain in the ass. She and Prince Harry have wore my backside out. I've had enough. I don't like the way she dealt with the Queen. Donald Trump said, I don't like it. I'd love to debate her. I would love that. I disagree so much with what they are doing. I got to give Trump credit, as always. He knows how to stir the pot. He knows this woman's an idiot. She knows her husband's a clown. She knows that all they do is whine. They don't do anything. They're just royal people that are disrupting the royal family, and they thought that would work out for them. Well, guess what? It hasn't. They have become public enemy number one entertainment division. Their podcast, can you imagine these two having a Spotify podcast that got canceled because they just frankly wouldn't work at it. Man, the idiot of the week is, and I hate to say this because I love listening to him, is Howard Stern. I love Howard Stern. I like Howard Stern still. I got no problem with Howard Stern. But Howard Stern says it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for COVID lockdowns to begin again. I'm going crazy with this. My wife yelled at me last night. We got in a fight. You know how paranoid I am about getting COVID. I haven't gotten it. I'm pretty safe, and I really don't want to get it. Don't worry. It's just a cold. Yeah, okay. Look, you guys, you want to lock it down, God bless you. There was a day when Howard Stern was against things. He lives in a bunker. He lives in an absolute palace. And this dude doesn't have to leave. Some of us have to leave. Some of us have to go. I remember I got kicked out of You Break, We Fix, a place that fixes your computer because I didn't have a mask on. There was nobody in the room. I'm like, you can't fix it? No, Dan, you got to leave. I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah. Howard Stern doesn't have to deal with real world problems. I still love Howard Stern, but he is the idiot of the week. Anyone calling for these lockdowns again is a selfish dumbass. Ballsiest move of the week, the Commanders naming Sam Howell as their captain. You know Sam Howell is the quarterback. You know Sam Howell apparently, at least as we sit here right now on opening day in the NFL, is going to be for the foreseeable future the face. That's right, the face of the Washington Commanders, maybe Redskins. But having said that, making him a captain, ballsy, gutsy. If I know Ron Rivera well, Sam Howell must have showed up in an LGBTQ sweatshirt because nobody's more woke and upset about things than Ron Rivera. So maybe that's what he did. Maybe he showed up in a gay pride type shirt. And of course, then the wokest of coaches, Ron Rivera, said, oh my God, we got to make him captain. Toughest job of the week. Worst job of the week. I would argue no hazmat suit can contain it. No, it wasn't cleaning up the guest room at the Stoner's place up in Bay Harbor where Lee and I stayed. No, it was the members of Delta Flight DL-194. What are you talking about, Dan? Well, guess what? They are the folks that had to clean up the stream of diarrhea running down the aisleway, causing Delta Flight 194 to spin her back around and head it back to the States after 2 hours on its way to Barcelona. God bless you. I understand that that's exactly right. I don't always run, but when I do, it's to the bathroom. I have a story. I'm not ready to tell this story of what happened to me going back about a year as I was walking my dog and had to do a hit on Hot Mic and what I sat in. I'm not ready to tell that story. It's too gross. But anyway, you are the cleanup crew. You are the people on Delta Flight 194 that cleaned it up. You, ladies and gentlemen, had the worst job of the week. People, and Bill Burr does a great segment on this. Bill Burr does a segment saying, don't tell me that being a mother is the hardest job in America. You get to do it in your pajamas. Well, I got to tell you, being a mother is a cakewalk compared to cleaning up someone else's diarrhea on a plane. They had to tear the carpet out. It was so bad. All right, it's opening. I'm not betting this game. I will bet this game eventually because what am I going to do? Sit around and watch this game? But anyway, it's Thursday night. It is Patrick Mahomes. It is the Detroit Football Lions. Be careful betting against Patrick Mahomes. All right, let's woke-a-dope, shall we? Can we woke-a-dope for a little bit? If your city bans straws but hands out free needles, you're being governed by idiots. Remember, those straws, that is so true. That is so incredibly freaking true. Hey, we don't want straws, but we'll give you needles to shoot yourself up. I got in trouble because down in Scottsburg and whatever that county is, Austin, Indiana, it's like the needle capital of the world. Austin is, maybe not Scottsburg. And people went nuts on me because I called them out for it. They're giving out free needles in Austin, Indiana. I don't know if they're banning straws. Feels like Austin, Indiana has more problems than that, but Austin, Scottsburg, that area has all kind of problems. Man, are you right? If you're giving away needles but banning straws, you are being governed by dumb asses. All right, what's next? That's a good one. That's a good one. Is he in jail now, Daddy? Are we safe now, Daddy? Shut up, Junior. Man, oh man, is that true? Is that true? Think about that. Is it safe now, Daddy? I don't know. Is it safe? I think it's safe. It feels like it's safe. Let me go through, if I may. I did a little research on this one, and I think I got it right here. Let me see if I do. I think I do. Where the hell did it go? I don't know. I can't find it. I thought I sent it. Oh, maybe I didn't. But anyway, Hunter Biden has been a complete mess. Hunter Biden has been an awful, awful human being. He has trafficked in drugs. He has trafficked in women. Hunter Biden has trafficked in everything and has seen literally no jail time. Nothing. Nothing. And we're standing for it. Isn't it amazing? Now, word on the street is Hunter Biden is going to get indicted on lying. Word on the street is they plan to indict him by the end of the month. That sweetheart deal went south on him. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I got 2 words for Hunter Biden. My ass. Yes, Daddy, it's okay now. All right, here it is. DUI, check. Theft, check. Bribery, check. Cocaine, check. Illegal drugs, check. RICO, corruption, check. I don't even know, check. Hookers, check. Solicitation, check. Class tax evasion, check. 0 days in prison. Walk into the Capitol building after cops open the door, decades in prison. I tell you what, I'm voting for Donald Trump or anybody that says I will pardon the folks from January 6th that are in prison. I am pardoning them. They are out. I will vote for you. You want to get my vote? Say you're running on everything opposite of Biden and pardon these guys. Next! Oh, man, that's pretty funny. Uno. I used to love to play Uno. Man, gas prices are skyrocketing once again, and I don't give a damn what you blue-haired freaks out there think. I don't give a damn what you effeminate males in your skinny jeans, your beards, and your padded asses think. I want 3 things out of my president. I want gas prices down. You don't like it? You don't think the president controls gas prices? There it is, right there. I want the stock market up. You don't think the president controls the stock market? Look at your 401k when Trump was in office and look at it now. And I don't ever want to hear the word inflation. And oh, by the way, you taking office, you doing all these stupid things, raising inflation to 8%, just because it came down to 4 doesn't mean you're doing the right stuff. I would also add, I want interest rates down. But that ship has sailed. So I don't give a damn what any of you think. I don't give a damn what you bearded fat guys that are in the media / professors think. I don't give a damn. I want the president to keep my gas prices down. Period. Open up American oil drilling now. Get off your ass now. It's my story and I'm sticking to it. And if you don't like it, I got a backside. Give it a smooch. What a great day. I love talking to Billy Walters. Tomorrow, Nancy Mace joins us. Now, if you don't know who Nancy Mace is, she is in Congress, and she's the one that told the story of Tim Scott's breakfast. Look, I got out of bed this morning, and my fiance wanted to grab me, pull me back in, and you know, she told a joke. The world lost their mind. I love Nancy Mace. And Nancy Mace is on one. She's trying to make the world a better place. I'm trying to get Ahmad Black. Yesterday I watched the end of Swamp Kings, and Ahmad Black is awesome. Love that guy. He was a great player for Urban Meyer. Urban told me he didn't even want to recruit him. I think it's in the show. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Nick, great job. Nick, part 2, great job. Dylan, fantastic. Ryan, love you long time. Of course, Aaron and Gary and the whole crew. Katie, how about our new booker? I'm not sure what her name is, but damn is she good. Thanks to Charlie, thanks to Billy Walters, and thanks to Rick Macy for coming on. Have a great afternoon.